Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Cozy Reads. I hope you've all been keeping well. Thank you for joining me again for another story. In today's story, we will carry on with the tale of Regalion. As Bree and Celeste square off against the godforsaken, tensions run high. For the godforsaken, this is a battle for survival, but for Bree, even though she doesn't fully understand the situation, she knows that this battle could decide the fate of so many people. So without further ado, let's jump in. While this was going on, Bree and Celeste were confronting Hector. And who the hell are you? Reapers? Know what? Doesn't matter. I'm either leaving here alive, or I'm dragging you all to hell with me. Hector snarled before hitting his fists together and putting them in a defensive position. He knew that he had to be careful now. Reapers are very dangerous opponents with many tricks up their sleeves. He knew that he couldn't very well charge in, and with all the damage that he had taken, he couldn't charge in even if he wanted to. Look, big guy, we're not your enemies, alright? We're not here to start anything. We need your help, and we're here to BOOM! Before Bree could finish her sentence, a gust of wind came shooting from Hector's direction. Celeste only had a moment to react. She was able to reinforce the shield on Bree, but Bree was still pushed back a bit. I've already said, I don't care who you are, or why you're here. If you're not leaving me alone, then you are my enemy. Hector said, raising his arms again from the limp position they fell into after his attack. Damn, what the hell? He won't even listen to reason. We're not here to hurt him and he is clearly in severe pain, and yet he won't let us help him, Bree said to Celeste while picking herself up. He is a godforsaken. They are individuals that usually face a life of isolation or experimentation, with many people being too afraid to communicate with them. It means that they quickly learn to put up walls and barriers and to not trust anyone, especially those who would so willingly speak to them without trying to hurt them. Celeste responded while not taking her eyes off Hector. Bree looked at Celeste and she noticed that the angel had a very serious disposition, with a slight hint of sadness. She knew that Celeste felt some pity for the godforsaken, but also that Celeste was not about to let her own guard down, and she would be willing to fight if need be. Bree could tell that Celeste was battle hardened, enough that she's learned to not let her emotions shape her actions in the heat of battle. She wondered where Celeste got her battle experience. Was it from being an angel, or travelling with Max, or was there more to Celeste that she had yet to reveal? Bree, however, knew that she couldn't ponder on this for too long, not with their current situation. She turned her attention back to Hector, who looked very worse for wear, and she could tell that he was barely standing. But while he had his fists in a defensive position, there was no way they could deal enough damage to him to force him to stop fighting. A distraction, Celeste said to Bree, almost reading her mind. What kind? Bree responded. You'll have to get him to drop his guard. Every time he does a big attack, his arms limp to the side for a moment. That would be our time to strike. If we can force his hand and get him to do a big attack, and if we can survive it, then I can hit him with a huge blast of holy magic when his defenses are down. Not enough to kill him, but enough to knock him down. I'll just pray that he won't find a last bout of energy and force himself to keep fighting. Celeste explained to Bree. The problem is, I will need as much strength as possible for such an attack. I cannot keep myself material for too long, and I use energy to keep myself like this. And due to how far I am from Max, I do not have a pool of energy reserve to use. I'm unsure if, after I do such an attack, I'll be able to keep myself material. This is why we need this attack to count. We cannot take any shortcuts. He needs to drop his guard, and then I need to attack. I won't be able to shield you, however, because I'll end up using more energy, so you'll have to work on a distraction on your own. I apologize, Celeste added. Bree looked over at Celeste, who genuinely looked worried for Bree's safety. Don't worry, and no need to apologize. It just means that I get to show off my skills, and show that I can be a force to be reckoned with. Bree responded with a fierce look of determination. She wanted to show that she was ready for this, even if deep down she was freaking out at the prospect of fighting Hector on her own, even if for a short while. While Hector was almost at death's door, his power was still something else. But she couldn't let her emotions get the better of her. Not now. Celeste gave Bree a wry smile, but she knew that Bree was freaking out inside. She still commended her for putting on a brave persona. Okay, here I go, Bree shouted. She then started running around Hector, circling him. She knew that he wouldn't just launch a wide-ranged attack if Bree and Celeste were separated, but it was too dangerous to have him launch a big attack with them together. She needed to figure out how to get him to attack away from Celeste and solely towards her. Bree moved in, pulling out the blade Max had given her. Hector got himself ready. He knew that he would have to block the attack, as he wouldn't be able to unleash an attack. Not yet. Bree closed in on Hector. He put his arms up, ready to block. However, Bree slid onto the floor using the blade she sliced at Hector's leg, cutting through his skin. This caused Hector to quickly lift his leg. Powering through the pain, he slammed his foot down, hitting Bree in the arm. She quickly jumped up and back, landing a certain distance away from Hector and behind him. Your goddamn tricks won't work on me. Face me proper, or else I'll crush you, Hector taunted Bree. Ha, well I'll have you know, this isn't even my final form. I'm going easy on you because you look to be a wee bit tired there, Bree retorted. Oh yeah? Then come at me like you mean it, Hector shouted. He knew that he had to keep his emotions in check. If he let himself go, then he would start making mistakes. But this girl, she got under his skin for some reason. And it wasn't her constant taunting. Ha, you okay, bud? I can see the cogs in your head spinning from all that thinking you're doing. Bree shouted to Hector. Celeste knew what Bree was doing. She was trying to anger Hector so that he would make a mistake. But Celeste couldn't help but notice that something did not seem right. Bree seemed to be taunting him too much. The look in her eye had shifted from that of a scared girl to a predator. Was it the hit she had got off on him that gave her newfound confidence? It seemed like they were viewing each other as equals, as if they were both ready to kill. She also noticed that Hector had the same look in his eye. She worried that Bree might go overboard, but calling may draw attention to herself, and she needs all her strength to unleash her attack against Hector. The spell ward that Celeste had placed on Bree was still up, but if she used up energy now, then the ward would also wane, putting Bree in even more danger. Bree pulled out her tanbo, and with sword and tanbo in hand, she rushed Hector. He put his arms up ready to block the attack. He surmised that she wouldn't be going for a straight on attack, so he had to figure out which way she was going to strike. That was when she did it. She leapt into the air and came down with her tanbo. Hector only had a second to block the attack, but Bree anticipated this. She quickly dropped low and swiped at his leg again, with her blade causing him to stumble. She then unleashed a flurry of attacks, while Hector got low and blocked the attacks as best he could. However, he still took some damage. Celeste looked on in amazement. Bree was just an average girl. It didn't seem like she was trained, but even Olympic level trained individuals would struggle to go toe to toe with a godforsaken. Yet here was Bree able to hold her own. Celeste knew that there was more to this girl. It was the same feeling she had when she first met Jezebel, but she couldn't place what it was. What Skaith mentioned. Was it this? Does Bree have a power that can rival a godforsaken? All these questions, would Bree even be able to answer them? She noticed that Bree had forced Hector to turn his back to Celeste, probably to get Celeste to attack him from behind. But she knew that Hector was insanely durable. Even an attack from behind would most likely not be enough to knock him down. And if it doesn't work, then Bree would be on her own. No, they needed to stick to the plan. Celeste needed to get a clear shot on his front when his arms are down and his defenses are at their lowest. Bree looked over at Celeste. She wondered why she wasn't attacking Hector from behind. Then she realized. Hector still had his defenses up, even though he was blocking her attacks from the front. His whole body seemed to be tense and in a defensive position. This is why Celeste wasn't attacking. Alright, should have to stick to the plan. Hector used Bree's sudden distraction to his advantage, and he swung around like a crazed bear. Bree was able to get her weapons in X position to defend herself, but the attack was still enough to send her flying. She crashed to the ground 15 feet away from Hector. The attack had sent her spiraling in a different direction, causing her to appear near Celeste. This was not the position she wanted to be in. Celeste looked on, worried as Bree slowly pushed herself up. You're a resilient little thing, aren't you? Hector shouted. Yeah, I might be, but it seems that even you with all your muscles are struggling against this resilient little thing. Or are those muscles just for show? Bree responded. She had managed to stumble onto her feet, but her whole body was starting to ache. However, she knew how important this was. so she wasn't gonna let up. "You think these muscles are just for show? I'll show you why you should fear the godforsaken," Hector shouted, and then lifted his arms as he got ready to shoot out a piercing gust of wind. Bree knew that this was it. She had pushed him enough, and he was ready to attack. He aimed his hands at Bree while she got ready to dodge his attack. But then the unthinkable. "Let's see if your friend thinks these muscles are just for show." He then shot out his attack, redirecting his hands towards Celeste. She didn't have enough time to move as she was so fixed on Bree and keeping her safe. "No!" Bree shouted. She quickly moved into action, and it felt like her body had a will of its own. As Celeste looked on in bewilderment, appearing as a deer in headlights before Bree appeared in front of her. She blocked the blow with her body and went tumbling towards the ground, hitting the ground with a thud. Celeste was speechless. Her only thought was that Bree's dead. No way could she have survived such an attack. Her jacket and t-shirt were torn to shreds, and she was bleeding out of her chest. Then she heard, "Now, while his arms are down." It was Bree. She was still alive and able to talk. Her voice was faint, but it was enough to snap Celeste back into reality. As tears rolled down her eyes with Hector's arm slumped low, she let out a mighty, concentrated blast of holy magic that hit Hector like a tirade straight in the chest. The only sound that followed was a loud boom as the blast hit Hector and he dropped to his knees. His body wasn't responding anymore, as his mind told him to get up. His legs felt like putty, and his body had given up. "Damn, I let my guard down." Those are the last words he uttered before he fell forward, witnessing Celeste disappear. As Celeste faded away, feeling the pull of a long slumber, she thought about what she had just witnessed. Bree had survived a point-blank attack from a godforsaken and was still alive. This didn't seem right. "What are you?" Celeste whispered as she slowly disappeared. "You got him. Finally. I think I might take a nap," Bree said while looking up at the blue sky as the clouds rolled over, signaling the end to a long fight. And that brings chapter 18 of this story to an end. I hope you have all been enjoying the series. Against all odds, Bree was able to dig deep and pull out a win against Hector, taking down a powerful opponent in the process. For someone new to this world, this has cemented her as a key player in the events of Regalion. What will the future hold for the team? And will Hector be willing to join them on their journey? Only time will tell. But until then, I hope you've all sufficiently warmed up, and that this story has brought you some level of comfort. I wish you safe travels on the journey of life, and feel free to come back again whenever you need a new story to warm your day.